Hey there, powerful creator. Practicing the law of assumption can sometimes be really overwhelming, tricky, and doubtful. And that's why today in this video, I want to share some of the requirements we need to develop as qualities within our self concept, to be able to live in the end efficiently and embody the state of our wish fulfilled on a daily basis. And some of these qualities, as you realize in this Neville Goddard contemplation video, are faith and patience. So now, if you're curious and if you're already embodying and developing and cultivating these qualities within yourself, well, I'm sure you'll find this video really valuable and thought-provoking. So if you're practicing the law of assumption, stay with me until the end and see where this contemplation gets us. That being the case, let's directly get into the topic. Hey there, I am Daniel, a relationship alignment coach and a creator of the Soulful Relationships Experience. This is a one-on-one coaching program helping people to transition from any codependent, narcissistic, toxic, and power struggle relationship dynamics to only being surrounded with people who support and lift them up. So if you find yourself in what I shared, in what I just said, you can always schedule your free relationship alignment session below, and in this session you can see how we can be of service to one another. Now, that being said, let's directly get into the topic and contemplate what is faith and patience. Because if you look objectively, well, if you were to live in the end, meaning that knowing we understand that feeling is the secret, and we understand that the feeling contains the plan and power of self-expression. The feeling of your wish fulfilled contains the plan and power of self-expression, as Neville teaches in his works. So if we were to really believe that idea and become convinced in it, we need to proceed in perceiving our desires with faith. So that's why I want to share with you some quotations from Neville. Neville says that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet received. Now, what does that mean? What does Neville imply by saying that? So let us contemplate again. Well, if faith is the substance of things hoped for, this means that when a desire appears in our mind, like this craving, this wishful desire comes in our mind, then faith is the substance that creates this desire. The desire itself is made of faith. Now, what is faith? Well, we don't know exactly what faith is. We know that faith is throwing our belief in something, right? Assuming that something is true. So, if faith is the substance of things hoped for, this means that, well, our desires, and this is connected to the second quotation I will come to in a moment, then this means that our desires are somehow almost like messengers from our higher self or from God, speaking to us from the future. In the past is the present now, exactly what you're experiencing now. So if faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet received, now if we for a moment surrender the idea of time, just let it go and assume that there is only this present moment. And in this present moment, there are infinite states of consciousness, infinite configurations of like ideas that create infinite variation of states of consciousness. What you want is in the future. If we look at the 3D linear time, right? So now, if faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet received, this means that any time a desire comes up and you're aware of it, now, this desire, since it is the substance of things hoped for, what you hope for is your desire. Now, what you're hoping for, and faith being the substance of what you're hoping for, faith is the realization of your desire in the future, speaking to you now. So you need like in this understanding, if we again go deeper into that, we need to understand that our desires, they have already happened. If we look at our desires from a four-dimensional standpoint, from a four-dimensional way of thinking, it is something that is already realized. It's something that happened. And here is the second quote that I want to contemplate on. Look upon your desires, all of them, all of your desires, as the spoken words of God, and every word or desire a promise. So if we go beyond the understanding of time, and now just to make this more practical, let me give you an example. For a moment, recall a desire that you've had in the past that you've already fulfilled now. And now, if you put yourself in the person you have been in the past, which wasn't absolutely convicted that they were worthy of and deserved what they desired for, what they desired, and now you are already the embodiment of your desire in the past, which was like in the version of yourself in the past, which was desiring what you already have now. Well, if you were to share an idea with yourself in the past, you would tell to that version of yourself in the past what is it that awaits you in the future, right? So stay with me for a moment. Now, if this is the case for that version of yourself in the past, you are God or higher self speaking to yourself in the past and giving yourself a promise of the future. So look upon your desires, all of them, as the spoken words of God. And every word or desire a promise. Now, obviously, from Neville Goddard teachings, we know that God, what is God? God is the unconditioned awareness of being. This state of unconditioned awareness of being, it is beyond time. It is the state that is beyond any other state. So it is always there in the background. No matter if you remember a memory in the past, well, when you have actually experienced that memory in the past, this state was already there. Now, if you go to the future for a moment, again, looking from the perspective of three-dimensional time, this state of unconditioned awareness must be there. For you to experience what you would experience in the future, the unconditioned awareness of being must be there. And now Neville states that what God is man's imagination. Now, not the contents of your imagination, but the whole fact that you can imagine, you can conceive an idea. The conceiver of that idea is always beyond, it is behind the idea. For you to be able to conceive an idea, you must be beyond what you conceive, right? So, okay, now having this understanding, let's again look at this quote. Look upon your desires, all of them, as the spoken words of God, and every word or desire a promise. Now, if you accept 100% that what Neville shares is the truth, it's the case, this means that when you have a desire, this is yourself in the future speaking back to you right now in the present or in the past, if we look from that perspective of yourself in the future. And this version of yourself in the future is making you a promise. Since it's already an embodiment of your desires, well, this means that it is capable to give you a promise of the future because it knows that it's a realization of those desires. And even though your desires might seem as if this is something you hope for that version of yourself in the future, they're the reality they're currently living and experiencing. And now let's get back to the first quote. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. The evidence, look at how powerful this word is. The evidence of things not yet received. Now, for us to understand the meaning behind this idea, we need to look beyond time. Faith is the power of belief, the power of your awareness being one with an idea, being like conceiving this idea, being convinced of that idea. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. So if we look at the things you are hoping for in the future, faith is what is making them real. And the evidence of things not yet received. If we look at your desires from the perspective of the future, when we are looking at the version of yourself that is already the embodiment of your desires, faith, which is the power of your awareness, the power of belief, faith is the evidence of things not yet received. And now how you can accept that as 100% fact? Just look at yourself now. Remember, what is it that you desired, let's say 1 year in the past? And see if you've already realized some of those desires. Now, if you have realized these desires, and if you were to speak to that version of yourself in the past in imagination, it makes sense that all of them, your desires, they are the spoken words of God. And every desire, all word, is a promise, right? Because again, look at yourself now, look at this version of yourself in the past. It has desires that it hopes for. Now, these desires, they're filled with faith, because faith is the substance of things hoped for. And for that version of yourself in the past, they're also the evidence of things not yet received. For who you are in the present now, well, your version of yourself in the present is already an embodiment of some of the desires you had for yourself in the past. And so you can give to yourself a promise to that version of yourself in the past, letting it know that you have already embodied what this version of yourself desires. So this is again faith. Because in this video, like, I know this is a contemplation and it's a little bit abstract. It can be, for sure. I am not saying that I understand these ideas 100%. In this video, I am contemplating on them to understand them even better. But look at it. Again, if we go beyond time for a moment, just become present and aware that we are aware. And look at those two quotations. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. The same faith is the evidence of things not yet received. This faith is the power of your awareness, the power of belief. You can direct that awareness anywhere you want. Now, what we want to do, of course, if we were to practice the law of assumption, is let go of our problems and the attachment we have to the feelings that these problems create in us. Let go of those feelings. Just withdraw our awareness from them and focus our awareness on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, right? And that's why that's how we are living in the end, by now thinking from that state of our desire being fulfilled. If your desire was fulfilled right now, what you would be thinking? How would you approach your day? Right? So all these thoughts that are coming from the feeling of your wish fulfilled, for you to believe those thoughts, you need to have faith. And you need to have this understanding of faith, that faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the same faith is the evidence of things not yet received. And again, we are looking at this beyond time. So in your self-image, in yourself, like in the conversations you have with yourself in your mind on a daily basis, you need to converse with that state of yours in the future as if it were now. And what would you say if you were the embodiment of that state in the future to yourself now? The same way you would speak to yourself now in the past if you were to encourage yourself to some desires that you have already realized. See? This is what it means to live in the end. Do you get that? Do you get a greater understanding of what it means? And now, okay, we understand what faith is, but what is patience? Patience is a thing that I understand even less. So forgive me if some of the things I would say doesn't make a lot of sense. So now I want to look at another quotation from Neville that I've been contemplating on for a while. Do not condition your desires. Just accept it as it comes to you. Now, if we do not condition our desire to any plan we have of its realization, because we also have this understanding that the feeling of our wish fulfilled contains within it the plan and power of self-expression. So that's why we don't condition our desire to a certain way it must manifest. Do not condition your desire. Just accept it as it comes to you. Give thanks to it to the point that you are feeling grateful for already having received it. And then go about your way in peace. Yes, this is what it says. This is what patience is. Now, this is exactly what patience is. Since you know that your desire is already fulfilled, you have an understanding of what faith is. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet received. Faith is the power of belief, the power of your awareness that can direct itself wherever it wants. So now, if you were to accept and be fully convinced that you are already in the end, this automatically assumes, it's a presumption we have to make, that from that state of of us now in the present, looking at our desires in the future, we need to be patient. If we want to live in the end, we need to accept that the end is already fulfilled, right? And so this version of ourselves in the future is already always communicating with us. It's giving us inspiring ideas, which we need to follow, obviously. But like we follow them because we are patient, because we have the understanding that our desire is already fulfilled. So in a way, what is this other thing that Neville said? That signs do not follow, signs proceed, right? It was this, wasn't it? So yes, so it's like signs, they will proceed once you embody the feeling of your wish fulfilled, which is required for you to live in the end. So if your desire was already fulfilled, and if you now have an understanding of what fate is, and you need to understand that you have to be patient in this feeling, that it will realize itself in its own timing, the same way that when a woman becomes pregnant, she like births a child in the next 9 months. So when you embody the feeling of your wish fulfilled, it will realize in some time, but you need to be patient of it. And you need to come back to that state again and again and again and again. And in my last Neville Goddard video, I explained why the negative states, the doubts you experience, they're actually reminders. So you can check this video out. I'll put it in the description also. But so again, we are patient by not conditioning our desire, by not saying it must happen this way. Or if it didn't happen in that time, this means that it won't happen. No, we have no clue. We don't have a clue. So, and I also told this in a previous video on Neville Goddard, that we cannot have control over the how and the when of our desires. We can only have control of the what. What is it that we want? So now we need to be patient, just accepting that the desire comes to us. And if we know that it's already realized, we have faith in that. We are convicted in that idea, convinced in it. Now, patience comes as a natural response in it. And so when this desire comes up as a reminder of what you have already experienced in the future, obviously you would want to give thanks to it, right? So give thanks to it to the point that you're feeling grateful for already having received it. Then go about your way in peace. So I challenge you, my friend, I encourage you, next time you feel doubtful, next time you feel skeptical, next time it seems that the signs that follow you don't assume that your desire is coming. In these moments, I want to give thanks that your desire is coming as a reminder and is a promise that God gives you for what you will experience in the future. So if you give thanks in this way to your desire, next time it comes up, and maybe it will come up in the form of skepticism, doubt, and anxiety or something like that, or like impatience, for example. Just give thanks to it again and again and again. And the more thanks you give to it, the more convicted you will become. And you reach that state, and you again embody the end by realizing that it has already happened. So what I want to conclude this video is it is done, my friend. Remember that no matter how you feel about it, it's done. If you have experienced the end, the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Now, even if you have experienced it once and then you become doubtful, you can always remember and like trigger. Make this an anchor to yourself. Anytime you feel doubtful or insecure or impatient or anxious or skeptical, just tell to yourself, it is done. It is done. I give thanks for the realization of that desire. I know it's done. So thank you for reminding me of what I am to experience in the future. This was everything I wanted to share in this video. Now, if you found it thought-provoking, curious, interesting, meaningful, like it, and I trust you did, maybe you did get some value out of it. So if that's the case in your experience, like it, comment down below, let me know what are some of the epiphanies that you've maybe had through watching it. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to it because I'll be creating a lot more content on Neville Goddard. So if that's something you're practicing, the law of assumption, you would want to be a member of this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying with me until the end. I love you, my friend. Enjoy your day and go about your way in peace. See you around.